Hey everybody, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder, and this is UK Thrash Assault, a series of videos where I'm going to show off my UK thrash metal collection, probably 2 or 3, 4 albums at a time. I've been meaning to show this collection in a video for well over a year now, but I've been struggling to think how best to present it. It's a living collection. I'm still adding to it all the time. I'm still discovering new bands and albums, and I've been reluctant to do an A to Z because as soon as you do an A to Z and you add things, it just makes it messy, and my OCD cannot handle the fact that I have a video up that didn't match, or a series of videos that didn't match what was in my collection. So I'm going the slightly random approach. I'm going to pick, let's say, 3 albums in each video and show you them, tell you what I feel about them, and it could be the albums aren't going to be in any particular order, but slowly but surely you will see what's in my collection, and hopefully you'll find some gems out there that you've not heard before that you can check out too. So why UK Thrash Assault? Well, I have nicked the name of the series from this 1989 CMFT Productions, Crazy Motherfucking Thrashing Productions, no less, compilation album. And this contained 5 UK thrash bands, 2 tracks from each, and I believe they were all pretty much unsigned at the time or on the CMFT label. The 5 bands on here are Hydra Vein, Snyper, War Dance, Pendemia, and that difficult to read one here. I first thought they were a Welsh band because they've got double L to start their name, which would make it Llamedos, but they're not. They're an English band, so it must be Llamedos or Llamedos, not too sure. The second part of the name here, when you see it written down and online, it's RIIL, but it actually looks like it's written here like a 2, or it's like it's R2L. More on them in a minute. So the 3 albums I'm going to show today are this one and 2 studio albums from the bands, 2 of the bands that feature on here. I do have a bonus demo tape to show for one of the others as well. So the 2 bands that appeared on here but didn't appear anywhere else are Snyper and Llamedos, the last name there. So Snyper are from Great Yarmouth in Norfolk. They take their sound. They kind of, now a lot of UK bands, they thrash bands certainly, they kind of came from 3 different origins, if you like. It was like there was the guys that were brought up on new wave of British heavy metal that just wanted to play faster. There were those that came from the punk side, which were not so much into the standard heavy metal. They liked the raw energy that thrash gave, and as punk was dying out, they tried their hand at thrash metal. And then the other guys that just wanted to jump on the US thrash metal bandwagon and be like the big 4 of the bands. Snyper, they have their influences in Maiden, but also Metallica, Exodus, and bands like Celtic Frost as well. They have aggressive vocals, very Venom-esque, really, in their approach. Not always super fast, but when they're not super fast, they're still super heavy with their riffs. They did record an album in 1991 that was due to be released in 1991 by these guys, but they went bust. And there is an album of the demos from those tracks that was released in 2013 on Mosh Tunage Records, which I actually found out today, and I've managed to find a copy and order. So you'll see that one coming up in a future episode of this, I hope. One interesting thing, though, was that I read that so Snyper, one of their big breaks was to be on this album and get played on the Friday Rock Show. Now, the trouble with this album is it has 5 tracks on both sides. No indication of how long those tracks are, and they went and put the label for side 1 on side 2 and the label for side 2 on side 1. So Tommy Vance actually played the wrong tracks by all accounts. his fault. He was just following the label, but these guys never got their break on the Friday Rock Show, I believe, as a result. And then the second band, Llamedos RIIL, they're from Bury St Edmunds, which is in southern England, and there's pretty much no information on their on the web at all about these guys. They are not even mentioned in the Bible of UK Thrash, Contract in Blood. I tell a lie, they're mentioned a couple of times, but only in the context of other bands, and the context of this album as well. They don't get a section, no history. I would love to know a little bit more about them, but there just isn't the information out there. So if you know somebody who knows them and can find out in the comments, that would be fantastic. So Snyper and Llamedos didn't go on to release anything else. Wardance, on the other hand, they released a couple of demo tapes. Now these guys went on to become more of a hardcore punk band with their debut album, but as I said, they did release a couple of demos. Now this isn't an original demo. I've shown this one before. This is, I managed to get hold of some good quality rips of the demo, but I needed to have something physical. And I thought, as it used to be a demo, I'll put it onto a tape. So I found the cover online and made my own J card for it, and it's in the cassette player at the moment, and then it fits nicely on one side. The whole thing, EP, fits nicely on the side of one C60, so I've got it repeated on the other side as well. But this is a bit of a gem. There's a couple of tracks on here, and it's pretty much the two tracks that are also on UK Thrash Assault, and those are Officially Pronounced Dead and Against the Grain. Those are probably the two best tracks on the demo EP, but Officially Pronounced Dead is one of my all-time favourite UK thrash tracks. It's online. In fact, what's his name? Jizz. Didn't write his full name down. Graham Jizz Butt. He used to be in English Dogs, actually, and this was, I don't know if this was a side project or what have you, or the fact that they were going to go more hardcore. Whether he was still in English Dogs, I don't know at the time. He has a YouTube channel where they've got a couple of the songs on here on. I think you can also get hold of this, the high quality rip of it, if you join his Patreon site as well. I'll put a link below, because it's worth checking out and seeing and hearing the song, Officially Pronounced Dead, because I think it's absolute banger of a song. For the most part, though, it's thrashy, but at times it's more sort of faster heavy metal with punk leanings to it as well. In fact, Jizz Butt on I love that name, on the video for Officially Pronounced Dead that he published on YouTube, said the best way to describe this demo is Metallica meets the Damned with a touch of the Ruts and Bad Brains thrown in. I don't know all those bands that well. I do know the Damned and the Ruts, but I just think it's metal to me, but more in a new wave of British heavy metal slant to it than full-on thrash metal. I would love someone like High Roller Records to pick this up, clean it up, and put out a vinyl release of that. I would certainly buy it. But Wardance Short Sharp Shock was the demo. That's a +1 for this, because it doesn't really come into a proper collection piece. The next band on here I'm going to talk about is Pendemia. Now, they had two songs on here, Malignant Decay and The Drowning. Those were songs from their demo. I do have a copy of their demo, but it comes as the bonus tracks on their first album, and this is Narcotic Religion, which was originally released in 1990. This is a Mosh Tunage remaster from 2013. It contains the original album, and then you have the 4 tracks from the demo, which was called the Widespread Epidemic Demo from 1988, and it also has 4 or 5 live tracks on there as well from Munro's Bar, wherever that may be. So Pendemia are from the northwest of England in Workington. These guys are more sort of violence and voivod than a Metallica clone from the UK thrash scene. Frantic heavy metal, but with kind of punky vocals as well. Songs to check out are, for me, are Terminal Agony, The World and I Obey, and Critical Condition. This was released on vinyl in 1990, but apparently it sounds like shit. The remastered copy is a lot better by all accounts, as the book Contract in Blood tells me. But what is worth listening to on here are the 4 demo tracks. They're worth the price of admission alone. I'd say that they does have the 2 tracks on the UK Thrash Assault album. The Drowning is kind of it's an interesting song. The lyrics are a bit daft. It sort of goes on about drowning, death by water, which is just, I don't know, makes me smile when I hear it, because it just seems like really just terrible lyrics, but a great song nonetheless. The live tracks are not really worth listening to, though. Listen to them once and you'll be done with it. But there's a nice little bio of the band as well. So yeah, Pandemia. I don't think they released anything else after this, but this is a great, aggressive, frantic, slightly punky UK thrash. Well worth checking out. And the last one, Hydra Vein. They're probably the best known band on this album. The 2 songs that we have on here are from their debut album, Rather Death Than False of Faith, which is the title track of the debut album, and Crucifier. Now, I picked up a Back on Black reissue of this last year. Yeah, what a beautiful cover. By all accounts, they didn't get the cover back from the artist, and we'll use that title loosely, I think, until the very last minute, and they had no choice but to go with it. The remit was their demos, which actually is also part of this Back on Black release. Their demos were called the Reptiliad, and they had an idea that they wanted to use this reptilian creature, not this one, but a reptilian creature, as almost like their Eddie on every album. And they said the pitch to the artist was, we want sort of like a reptilian humanoid in a cape like Death, standing on a bunch of corpses, and this is what they got. I mean, I love it, but I love it in the way that it is kind of endearing, and it's of its time, and it's great in a naff way. Back on Black do a fantastic job with their reissues. In here we have the lyrics, and we have some background history from the remaining guys in the band. Fortunately, Mike Keane, the vocalist, is no longer with us. But Hydra Vein, let me tell you all about them. They're from Brighton, which is on the south coast of England. Pretty much stablemates with Deathwish, another band you will see coming up in a future episode. It's full-on thrash metal. Vocals reminiscent of a snarly, angry David Wayne, shall we say. But the tunes are frantic, and it is full-on proper thrash metal. I mean, if a US band had done this, people would have been raving a lot more, and maybe have had a bit more of an horrible thrashy cover to it as well. That may well have helped. Who knows? If I had to compare it with other bands, this is kind of the aggression of Testament, some of the melody, I guess, of like the speed metal side, Agent Steel, say, and Slayer's in here as well. There's a good punch of a Slayer influence, there's no doubt about it. It kicks off with Rabid, which sounds like it will be a full-on song, and it is. And then you've got Crucifier, which is from the UK Thrash Assault album as well. That is just relentless. But they've also got some, a lot of thrash bands were singing about politics, and maybe some were a bit jokey as well, certainly on the UK side. But the song on here, Right to Die, is kind of about euthanasia as well. And it's actually a really, you read the lyrics, and if a band produced that now, where it's things like that are discussed a lot more openly than they used to be, it just seems like a really modern song still. And then you've got songs like rather Death and False of Faith, the title track, superb. And then you've got something like a bit more of an epic thrash song with lots of different tempo changes, like Harlequin, which is a really sort of mature sounding thrash romp. It is fantastic. The comes with a 12-inch single, which is the Reptiliad demos. Interestingly enough, actually this is on a fancy sort of pink clear splatter vinyl. The Reptiliad, the first song of the EP, is also the 12-inch single. Is it's a piano solo really, and apparently that's the same piano that when they came to they used in the demos, but when they came to record the album in the same place, they ripped off the back of the piano, put the bass cab in front of it to get some extra, reverb, extra noise with the strings of the piano. Rough and ready, the demos are. The vocals are much cleaner. He's really sort of gritted himself up. Old Mike. Apparently, so I did say, yeah, he passed away, I think, in around 2002, which is a shame. These guys have got a new album coming out soon, so I was going to say I presume they've got a different vocalist, but that's a stupid thing to say. But the difference in his vocals between the demo and this album, he must have gargled a lot of whiskey, because he really roughed them up and got himself a proper thrash metal voice. Okay, so there we have it. That's the first instalment of UK Thrash Assault. Stay tuned for more.